Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is Jim's Fix-It Shop, and today we're just going to take a quick look at the parts that came in for the Boss's tractor. We're going to start by redoing the chain case first, and then probably the differential, then we'll get into the pilot bearing, I believe it's called, and then the kingpin bearings. It never fails, so how many of these things I get when I order parts, it's like Christmas. You can just never open it up quick enough. This looks like the gasket for this is the gasket for the chain case. This one must be the gasket for the differential. And what else we got in here? We got the pilot bushing. Yeah, I forgot what the heck I even ordered. Oh, this has got to be the seal, not the seal, I'm sorry. This will be the bushing for the axle. And, oh man, we got all kinds of stuff in here. Thrust bearings. These are the bearings, they call them bearings, or plastic or nylon bushings for the kingpins. Some new snap rings. Here is the thrust washer, the spacers to take out the slop in, or the side plate in your axles. I got some of those. The two new bearings for the chain case, new plugs for filling it with oil. A couple new Belvedere washers. Yeah, figure out what them are. That's the cone-shaped washers that goes over the O-rings to seal up the differential. Oh, here's the thrust washers for the kingpins. Oh, we got all kinds of stuff in here. More thrust washers. Oh, these are the two little O-rings for the differential. Some more thrust washers. Boy, there's a lot of them. And the O-rings for the chain case on the small sprocket. For some reason they have an O-ring on them. My chain case did not have them, and that's something new on these newer machines. I'm going to tip this down a little. Now, the one part I really like about all these parts, well, most all of them, a large portion of them all say, we can zoom in on this, you can read it, you see where they're made? Made in the USA. Man, I just love that. So the first thing we're going to be doing with this pile of stuff, so we're going to work on the chain case. That'll be the first thing we put together. And I made two tools for the chain case. This one is just solid. This one has a set screw in the end of it. That's somewhere, here's an Allen wrench that fits it, that you can adjust and screw in and out for depth. When we start putting this chain case together, I'll show you what I made these for. What they do, I use them in a drill press, of all places, and we'll get to that point, I guess, and I'll show you how to use them. I couldn't really come up with something that I could buy at a lumber company or a hardware store to do what these are going to do. So I guess when I get done with these, if someone wants to borrow them to work on their tractor, if you want to have them shipped to your house and shipped back to me, you're probably talking $14 to go both ways maybe. I'll let you use them when I get done with them. If I loan them out and don't get them back, I'll have to make another set, and I probably won't loan them out. I've got a couple of hours tied up into making these over at the father-in-law's on his lathe, and I use them quite often, but we'll see how that goes. I do have something I'd like to throw out there to you. I had one of my viewers ask me if he could switch his engine over from 110 volt electric start to 12 volt electric start. Excuse me. Apparently he's got a hold of an engine that will work on his snapper, but it's got a 110 volt starter on it. He wants to know if I could send him a diagram to wire it. I said, first you got to try and find a 12 volt electric starter that's going to fit on an old Briggs & Stratton engine. They're kind of hard to find. Then I had another viewer ask me if I would rebuild an old engine or just replace it. Personally, if I had the choice, I would just replace it. I don't mess around too much with engines. But that got me thinking, maybe we ought to make up a video on just selling used snapper parts. And in the description box below, you can put in a little ad saying, I've got an old snapper I've tore apart, and this is a list of parts I have I'd like to sell. What are you going to do with them? Just let them sit outside behind the building and rust? You might as well sell them or give them away and let somebody that needs them use them. So what do you think about that idea? Is there people out there that are willing to sell some old snapper parts? If you got an old engine you're going to replace, because I had one viewer call me and say he threw a rod in his engine and it shot. Well, you still got a good carburetor, you still got a good starter, your flywheel's in good shape. I've had a lot of viewers say the magnet came off of my flywheel and locked up my engine. How do you glue one of them back on? Or do you just want to find another flywheel? Your coil is still good. There's a lot of usable parts in and on that engine that somebody would love to get their hands on. So let me know what you think about selling used parts. I guess that's about it for tonight. And we're going to get on this as soon as I get some time. Like I said, we'll do the chain case first, then the differential, press in the bushings, and then work up from there. I know everybody's anxious to watch this thing go back together, but probably no more than my boss is. So hang in there, stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe. And as usual, work safe, have fun, and let's get this thing running.